Okay, Grant, so in terms of the things we've discussed around planning and some of the hurdles and challenges that come up, what are the repercussions for a developer or a landowner in ignoring some of these?
Well, I've seen instances where, and again, it's largely about what the expectation is around value. If someone thinks the value is at a certain level and that's unrealistic, they can spend an awful long time trying to achieve that value when it's never going to happen. And what you'll sometimes find is that if they won't take advice, they'll end up getting a subject to planning deal with a developer who is prepared to take a bit of a punt on it. That developer will then spend a year and a half, 2 years flogging a bit of a dead horse, as it were, and then find that it falls apart. And then after that period, they walk away and then the landowner's back at square one. And I can think of an awful lot of instances where developer clients of mine have been looking at sites, found that the landowner's been unrealistic about their expectations, walked away from it on our advice, because we are advising buyers as well as sellers.
Yep.
And then sure enough, a year or two later, that site's come back to the market. And often you'll find that the seller has become a bit more desperate by that point because they really need the money for the sale. And that means that my clients who are buying it have been able to strike a better deal than they would have had the landowner been more realistic in the first place. And I think that's kind of sad for people who have been fixated on a certain value. It's great for my clients who I've advised who have picked up deals, who have been patient and who have taken advice. But my number one advice on that would be realistic about what it's worth. Take advice on it and look at ways that you can optimise the value, either by getting some pre-application advice on it or even going to the lengths of making a full planning application and getting permission yourself. This is something that people are often afraid of doing. But the value of a piece of land with the advice of someone like me on it is often an awful lot less than the value of that piece of land with pre-application advice from a local authority behind it or even a full planning permission behind it. You're more likely to get, well, you'll almost certainly get an unconditional offer, which will be sorted out a lot more quickly and a lot more certainty if you've gone to the extent of getting permission or some pre-application advice, and that's going to help a landowner every time. It takes a bit of investment, it takes a bit of endeavour and a little bit of time, but I think the payoff can, in many cases, be highly beneficial.
That's a very interesting point as well. And there is obviously, within materials that TrustedLand produces, there's prompts in terms of things that people can consider at the early stages on where to go get the advice as well. Your colleague Karen features in here as well, Karen Charles, in terms of giving people some questions they can think about and decide, is that the right route for them? Or do they feel that they're very good at what they do in terms of their business, but this is not something they want to get involved in? But I think having those discussions at least gives you perspective. So great answer, thank you.
That's right.